America is not Canada. And Canada never, ever will be part of America. In trade, as in hockey, Canada will win.
Let's see what happens with the whole Russia-Ukraine thing. We're going to make a lot of progress, I believe, this week.
So this is what I particularly wanted to share with you. Songs which have brought me joy. One of my particular favorites. It is Upside Down by Diana Ross. The song is The Locomotion, and this is music for dancing.
A little tunes for a Monday morning to get you started off right. Hello and a warm welcome to our viewers joining us from the U.S. and all around the world. I'm Rahel Solomon. It is Monday, March 10th, 5 a.m. exactly here in New York, also 5 a.m. in Ottawa. That's where the man set to become Canada's next prime minister is striking a defiant tone in the face of threats from the U.S. president. Former central banker Mike Carney has been elected as the Liberal Party's leader and successor to Justin Trudeau. Now, among the biggest issues that he will face, growing tensions between Canada and the U.S.
He's attacking Canadian families, workers, and businesses, and we cannot let him succeed. And we won't. We won't. And to respond, my government will put into action our plan to build a stronger economy, to create new trading relationships with reliable trading partners, and to secure our borders. And my government will keep our tariffs on until the Americans show us respect.
Now, those comments come as President Donald Trump ramps up his trade war, suggesting that upcoming tariffs on some goods from Canada could go higher. President Trump defending his use of tariffs, saying that they will benefit the country.
Oh, I think the tariffs are going to be the greatest thing we've ever done as a country. It's going to make our country rich again. We have many companies, as you know, auto companies are opening up plants now. We've had 4 or 5 announced already, but many more are coming. And we're basically going to take back the money, or a lot of the money that we've given away over many decades.
Now, there's been a lot of back and forth in Trump's tariff moves over the past week. On Tuesday, you might remember that he imposed tariffs on goods from Canada, Mexico, and China. But on Wednesday, he temporarily paused tariffs on some automakers. Then on Thursday, he reversed course, pausing some tariffs on Mexico and Canada for a month. But just one day later, he threatened tariffs on Canadian dairy and lumber products. On Sunday, meantime, the U.S. Commerce Secretary said that some of the delayed tariffs will now start on April 2nd. And President Trump's chaotic tariff fight isn't one-sided, though. Some trade partners also pushing back. Amy Kiley has more.
In trade, as in hockey, Canada will win.
Some American trade partners are cracking down on U.S. exports. Starting today, American farmers face new retaliatory tariffs on many products they send to China. The measures include an extra 15% duty on chicken, wheat, corn, and cotton, and a 10% one on items such as beef and soybeans. Some American farmers say they're worried escalating trade tensions could make it harder to sell their products abroad.
Everything we produce far exceeds what the domestic market could handle.
Meanwhile, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's newly elected successor is standing by Canada's retaliation against the U.S.
And my government will keep our tariffs on until the Americans show us respect.
President Donald Trump is doubling down. He says some tariffs on Canadian and Mexican goods scheduled for April 2nd, quote, could go up. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says duties on steel and aluminum imports are set to start Wednesday. Most mainstream economists say tariffs can be inflationary. Lutnick acknowledges some prices might rise in the U.S., but Trump says any pain would be short term.
Are you expecting a recession this year?
I hate to predict things like that. There is a period of transition because what we're doing is very big. We're bringing wealth back to America.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
And the Friday deadline to avoid a government shutdown is fast approaching, and U.S. President Donald Trump is warning that a shutdown could happen.
Is there going to be a government shutdown at the end of this week?
Could happen. I mean, the Democrats want that. They want to destroy the country. So I can't tell you, but it could happen. It shouldn't have happened, and It probably won't. I think the CR is going to get passed.
Republican-led House is expected to vote Tuesday on a funding package that Trump supports, and that would keep the U.S. government running until September 30th. But lawmakers on both sides expressing their concerns.
The construct in this country is if you get 218 votes, you get everything. And if you get 217 votes, you get nothing. And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So the reason that we do what we do is we want two-party solutions, including on the CR. So it remains to be seen whether the votes are there or not. But I think we're really going to be learning over the next 24 hours what's in it and what's not in it.
In the case of the CR, there's been offers to negotiate, and there's been very little negotiated. It's kind of been a my way or the highway type of thing. And I think that's going to go on for a while. I think that the leadership is going to try and do my way or the highway for a while, and then at some point they're going to need Democratic votes, and then people will start negotiating.
All right, let's get to Stephen Newcomb, a congressional reporter with Axios. He joins me now from Washington. Stephen, great to have you this morning. We'll get to the action on Capitol Hill in just a moment. But first, let's actually stick with the tariffs and this incoming talk from the leader on trade from Canada. Talk to me a little bit, Stephen, about what seems to now be this acknowledgement from the administration that, at least in the short term, prices for some goods will go up. We also just heard Trump there in that interview with Fox Business suggesting that, you know, he doesn't want to get into predicting whether there will be a recession or not. Obviously, he was voted in on these issues on the economy, on prices going down, on a strong economy. What are you hearing from Republican lawmakers in terms of these economic concerns so early into his term and what it means for them back home?
Yeah, look, I think that Republicans are trying to keep up with everything that the president is doing. I heard a number of them on Capitol Hill last week quip that it was hard to sort of keep up with the changes of the tariff policy that the president seems to be shifting around on an almost daily basis at this point. But look, I think a number of them acknowledge that, yeah, there could be a short-term sort of rise in prices and hardship to folks' pocketbooks. And I know that they hope that it is short-term because November 2026 is right around the corner when a number of Senate Republicans and every single House Republican faces voters. So they do acknowledge it, and I think they will give the president a little bit of leeway to enact his platform. This is what he was elected to do. But they hope that the inflationary pressures of the tariffs come down at some point.
On the spending bill that House Speaker Mike Johnson put forward over the weekend, what are you hearing on that? Does he have the votes to get it across? What are you expecting?
Well, we don't know if he has the votes. We should see early this week. He presumably already has one no in Representative Thomas Massey, which means he, if everyone is present, he can't lose another vote. He has pulled things like this off before, very slim margins. If he does get it through the House without Democratic help, then it gets shipped over to the Senate, where no matter what, it's going to need at least 7 Democratic votes, probably more, to get it through the Senate and signed into law to avoid a shutdown at the end of this week. So all eyes on Johnson first. But if he can get this lift done through the House, then it puts an enormous amount of pressure on Senate Democrats to join with Republicans to avert a shutdown.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, Senator Andy Kim was on State of the Union yesterday, and my colleague Jake Tapper asked him several times how he was prepared to vote. Take a listen to what he said.
It's not simple yet because we don't know what the House is going to do. So again, I'm going to see what happens with the House going first, and then we'll see what comes over to the Senate, if anything. But I still do think that there's an opportunity here to try to push.
Yeah, so what do you think there? I mean, are Democrats willing to perhaps vote for shutdown in this scenario? I mean, what are you hearing?
Well, they've been keeping their cards very close to their chests. Andy Kim actually is a Democrat who went on television earlier last month and actually sort of got ahead of the skis, suggested that he would withhold his vote from government funding. Senate Democrats since that moment have sort of been a lot more conservative in talking about how they'll deal with this situation. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has told them privately to do that, to give leadership as much cover as possible. possible. But the reality for Democrats is they're facing a lot of pressure from their voters, from the grassroots, to do more to stop Trump and Republicans. And the reality is that they don't have much leverage except for this government shutdown that's coming up at the end of this week. And what they're weighing is the political viability of shutting the government down to stand in the way of the DOGE cuts. And what they say is the destruction of the first, 2 months of the Trump administration.
Yeah, I mean, it's really shaping up to be an eventful week for both Washington and Wall Street. I mean, Washington with the spending deal and spending bill, and Wall Street with the big inflation report on Wednesday and all of the volatility that we've seen. Stephen Newcomb, we appreciate you getting up early to be with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
For the first time since last month's disastrous Oval Office meeting, the U.S. will hold face-to-face talks with Ukraine. Coming up, what President Trump is saying about it. Plus, New York launching an investigation into the brush fires burning on Long Island. Still to come, the latest on the state's firefighting efforts over the weekend. And Canada's oldest brewery is giving fellow Canadians a reason to say cheers in the face of Trump's tariffs. We'll have all that and more straight ahead.